Or whisper to yourself, Pagod na ako, I am tired, when the weight of family expectations, unspoken resentments, or constant demands drain your spirit. You love them, but being with them sometimes leaves you feeling small, guilty, or exhausted. Today, we are going to talk about keeping our integrity in Filipino relationships, even when it feels impossible. And I'll also show you how inner child healing is the path that helps us move from exhaustion to kapwa that truly nourishes. Magandang umaga, hapon, or gabi po sa inyong lahat. I'm Dr. Net. I'm a Filipino-American clinical psychologist. I have dedicated my career helping Filipinos worldwide heal from generational trauma through inner child healing, ancestral wisdom, and kapwa psychology. Born and raised in the Philippines, I immigrated to the US as a young adult and later pursued graduate school in San Francisco. As a first gen immigrant, both my personal and professional insights into the healing journey, and having grown up with anxiety and trauma as well, I deeply understand what it means to face mental health challenges without support and without any resources. And all of my lived experiences inspired me to create this channel, a space that makes healing accessible while honoring culture, heritage, and our community. Let's begin with pakiramdam, listening deeply to yourself as well as others. Because we were raised, as Filipinos with pakikiramdam, the ability to sense others' emotions even before others even speak. At family gatherings, we know when there's tension in the air without a word being said. And this sensitivity, it kept us safe as children. But here's the hard truth. Many of us learn to listen to everyone else's while ignoring our own needs. Maybe you're smiling at a gathering, but inside you're drained because you've been doing everything. Integrity begins when you turn pakiramdam inward and ask, ano ba ang nararamdaman ko? What am I feeling right now? And what do I need? When I immigrated to the United States, I worked overtime to prove that I belonged. At parties, I anticipated everyone's needs but ignored my own exhaustion. My healing began when I finally honored my own pakiramdam. Think about this for a moment. When was a time you trusted your gut even when it went against family expectations? If you're open, share your story in the comments. By the way, to help you begin honoring your inner voice, I created Pagbabalik-loob, which is a 5 basic sacred steps to begin your Filipino inner child healing journey. And it's free. This is rooted in kapwa and ancestral memory. When you were a child, ignoring your needs kept you safe. But as adults, healing begins when we teach our inner child, I matter too, and my needs matter too. And this is the first step toward integrity. And another key practice is also honoring our kapwa by honoring our dignity. So in Sikolohiyang Pilipino or Filipino psychology, we are never separate. We are always in the kapwa or in our shared identity with others. And this means integrity is not selfish. So when you dishonor yourself, you also dishonor kapwa. So I don't know if your lolos and lolas or like your parents ever told you about the myth of malakas and maganda. So this is kind of like the myth, right? That is so popular in the Philippines. But apparently these two people, which is like a boy and a girl, they emerge together from the bamboo, neither shrinking, both standing strong. And that's kind of like the model of relationship our ancestors passed on. So when you choose dignity, you're not betraying family. You're actually preserving your kapwa. And yet, so many of us wonder, if I stand for myself, if I live differently from my family, does that make me less Filipino? We will return to that question soon. And many of us grew up shrinking, right? To maintain the family harmony, to maintain that group harmony. But your inner child doesn't need to keep shrinking. Through healing, we teach the child that honoring ourselves is also honoring kapwa. Have you ever been told that standing up for yourself was selfish? And how did that feel? We also need to look at pakikipagkapwa, which means relationships built on equality. Our ancestors lived by bayanihan, and no one carried the house alone. But in modern life, many Filipinos find themselves carrying all the emotional labor adjusting, sacrificing, silencing. But that is not what pakikipagkapwa is. I understand that as children, maybe we learned that we had to please, to serve, to stay quiet, just to keep love. And healing our inner child helps us learn or unlearn this pattern so we can build adult relationships grounded in equality and respect. Have you ever felt hindi pantay in a relationship, not equal, like the load wasn't shared? Share below because I often hear this in our Instagram followers about like the patriarchy that really, they really felt that when they were growing up in their house. Another step is also pagbabalik-loob, which means returning to yourself. Because when we silence ourselves just to stay out of hiya or bind ourselves with utang na loob, we lose pieces of our spirit. But pagbabalik-loob calls us to return back to self and back to dignity. Picture this. A child hears, "Why can't you be more like your cousin?" Or "Why can't you be more like the neighbor's kid?" Or they want to protest but swallow the words. And over years, this silence becomes the tampo and then resentment. And healing means reclaiming the voice that was silenced. After migration, I bent myself to please others, but the more silent I became, the lonelier I felt. My pagbabalik-loob was learning to speak with compassion. Silence was not respect, but honesty was. But here's the struggle. When we begin to speak honestly, sometimes people will say, "Nag-iiba ka na, iba ka na ngayon na, you're not like us anymore." And that cuts deep, and it feeds the question many of us carry, am I Filipino enough? Where in your life do you need to return to yourself? And if the guilt rises when you speak, hiya, utang na loob, tampo, I made something to support you. It's called Navigating Boundaries, a Filipino inner child's companion to healing guilt. It will guide you with practices that soften guilt without abandoning kapwa. The link is in the description, and this is also free. And every time you silence yourself, your inner child feels it. Inner child healing is the practice of returning, of saying, "I see you, I hear you, and you are safe to speak now." And in my next video, we'll explore why Filipinos silence themselves generation after generation. And this is also why I created the Healing Collective. This is a kapwa community. This is our membership for Filipinos across the world, breaking intergenerational trauma through inner child healing, through ancestral wisdom, and Sikolohiyang Pilipino. In THC or the Healing Collective, I see our kababayans relearning how to stand in dignity while still honoring kapwa. And if you've felt alone in this process, know that there is now a place where your inner child is welcomed and not silenced. Finally, let's talk about lakas ng loob, or courage of the spirit. Bahala na once meant courage. Trust the ancestors, trust the spirit, and walk with us. Integrity often requires this kind of courage. Imagine a tita or a tito who mocks your choices or shames your body, or even a parent. It doesn't have to be a tita or a tita. Sometimes parents do this too. Courage is not about lashing back. It's calmly saying, "I do not accept being spoken that way." And if they continue, you choose to distance. That's when we create that boundary. This is integrity with lakas ng loob. And by the way, I just wanted to make sure that you understand when I say boundary, it doesn't mean that it has to be permanent. Maybe they also just like need to take a break from you. Because sometimes when people tend to be more critical of others, it's because they're also not in a good place. That is integrity with lakas ng loob. In grad school, I often battled with imposter syndrome. It's like, who is this FOB? Like some people will call me that. Fresh off the boat. That's what like the regulatory term for people who just came to the US. And I would battle with imposter syndrome. Like, who is this provincial girl who grew up in the Philippines, in the island province? Sure, I went to the city for university, but like, who am I really? I have that colonial mentality that because I have nowhere in my face, in my body, in my language, sure, I know how to speak English, but nothing close to the whiteness, which is like often deemed is more superior. And that's what colonial mentality is. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, what helped was remembering my lola's, strength and my mama's prayers. The courage flowed through me. That's the strength of kapwa and lineage. Who in your family modeled lakas ng loob? Name them in the comments as a way of honoring them. And if you want to reconnect with this ancestral strength, download Discover the Pre-Colonial Philippines, which is an ebook and it's free. Our ancestors lived by reciprocity, respect, not coercion. And this free ebook will help you remember their wisdom. You will also find that in the description. Courage grows when you tend to your inner child. And each time we stand in dignity, each time we show up for that inner child, we are saying to ourselves, you are no longer powerless. You are safe. And the reason courage feels so hard for many of us, it's because of the unspoken family wounds we inherited. And that's where we're headed next. When you live in integrity, you live in kapwa. You honor the courage of our ancestors, the wisdom of your inner child, and the dignity of your community. And healing doesn't mean rejecting family. It means returning to the kapwa with compassion, balance, and wholeness. And the way back, inner child healing. It's the path that teaches us to listen to our needs, reclaim our voices, and step into courage without losing kapwa. When I was younger, I thought silence was respect. And out of hiya, I swallowed my pain. Out of utang na loob, I bent myself to please. But over time, I learned that true respect is honesty. True love is also reciprocity. When I found the courage to listen to my inner child, I discovered kapwa that was freer, kinder, and more real. And that journey inspired me to create the Hilam Collective, a kapwa community for Filipinos worldwide, breaking generational trauma, like I said earlier, through inner child healing, ancestral wisdom, and Sikolohiyang Pilipino. So if you're ready not just to listen, but to practice inner child healing in community, join us in THC or the Healam Collective. You will find the link in the description. Together, we heal faster and deeper than alone. And now I want to leave you with this. Many of us carry a hidden question in our hearts. Am I Filipino enough? Especially when we've migrated, grown abroad, or felt too different. And in my next video, Am I Filipino Enough? We'll dive deep into that question and why it matters for our healing. Maraming salamat. This is Dr. Net signing out and reminding you that healing is our resistance. I will see you in the next one.